Well, the CDC is putting out a travel alert due to the spread of the Zika virus. The tropical infection is new to the Western Hemisphere, and it's transmitted by mosquitoes. Experts discovering the virus can cause brain damage in the unborn, and the CDC is advising pregnant women or those trying to become pregnant to avoid travel to 14 countries and territories in Central and South America, as well as the Caribbean. They say it's out of an abundance of caution, but our next guest says this virus really is a game changer. Dr. Peter Hotez is director of the Texas Children's Hospital for Vaccine Development and founding dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. It's great to have you back on the program, Doctor. Why do you believe this is a game changer?
Well, thanks for having me, Jenna. It's a game changer because this virus is spreading so rapidly. This is a virus that was introduced into Brazil in 2014. It is now spreading in at least 14 countries in Latin America. It's already in Puerto Rico and Martinique and Haiti. And I have a suspicion that the virus is going to be widespread throughout the Caribbean in the coming weeks and months. We've seen this before with other viruses that are transmitted by mosquitoes. The difference being that this one's causing horrific congenital birth defects, whereas the others don't. And that's why we have to be so cautious and so concerned.
What happens?
Well, the virus has the ability to cause transient illness, a short-term illness associated with fever and headache and rash like other mosquito-transmitted viruses. But this one has the ability, especially if it's early in the pregnancy, to cross the placenta and infect the baby, where it causes a very serious congenital birth defect known as microcephaly, where the baby has a small head and a small brain and is expected to have a lot of profound mental disability. So this is a very scary one, and the mosquitoes that can transmit this virus are all over the Caribbean, and they're even in the Gulf Coast of the United States. So this one is one we're going to have to watch very closely.
What happens if you're not pregnant? What is the risk to you if you're bit by a mosquito that carries this virus?
If you're bit by a mosquito that carries this virus, it's similar to other arbovirus infections. That's the type of virus we cause that's transmitted by a mosquito. You get a rash, severe headache, fever, and a small percentage of people, they're going on to develop more serious neurologic complications such as Guillain-Barré syndrome. But for the most part, it's not a severe illness. But the big difference, of course, is if you're, especially if you're in early pregnancy, it seems to have the ability to transmit to the baby and cause those terrible complications.
One of the things you're watching is you're seeing the quick spread of this disease in the southern hemisphere. Is the mosquitoes that, as you mentioned, in the southern part of the United States, that are mosquitoes that we know can carry this virus. So how can people protect themselves? Is it as simple as wearing mosquito repellent on a daily basis?
Well, you know, in the ideal world, we would have a Zika vaccine, but unfortunately, we do not have that right now. So what we've got to do are take precautions to avoid getting bitten by mosquitoes. First of all, I think what we've got to do here in the United States is we have to assume the worst and the possibility that this virus could strike the Gulf Coast, where we have two different species of mosquitoes that can transmit this virus. I think it means we're going to have to be looking at mosquitoes, trapping them, looking for the presence of the virus. And if we start to see it crop up here in the United States where there's actually transmission of the disease, that means we've got to send appropriate advisory information to women of reproductive age, women who are pregnant or are thinking about getting pregnant. And I should also add that the other risk factor is poverty, which many people don't really think about. And that's because people who are poor live in neighborhoods where houses are dilapidated, have no window screens, where there's no air conditioning, or those box-like air conditioners where the mosquitoes can get in. And then there's the environmental degradation. The refuge piles up and mosquitoes can proliferate. We have discarded tires along the side of the road. So it's the really poor areas of the Caribbean and the poor areas of the Gulf Coast that I'm particularly worried about. I can drive through parts of Houston where I can really just identify the vulnerable areas just by inspection.
And based on the symptoms you mentioned, you might not even know it. You might not even know I got bit by a mosquito, and this is something that could be a risk to me. You know, as we're looking at that map, I can't help but look at Brazil, because that's where there have been so many cases of this virus impacting the unborn and then the born. And here we have the Olympics coming in Brazil. You have a huge tourist attraction there. What about that, doctor? And if you are bit by a mosquito that has this virus, does it stay in your body? Can then you spread it even, months or even years later, like other diseases that mosquitoes carry?
So you've asked a couple of very good questions. So we do have the Olympic Games this summer. There's still a lot of time between now and this summer, so I'm reserving judgment on what to recommend until we see how this thing unfolds, because it is moving so rapidly. I'm very worried about Haiti. Haiti poor Haiti always gets it the worst. They've got so many vulnerable women there because they're living exposed to the environment, exposed to mosquitoes. We could be looking at a huge catastrophe in Haiti. We've got to figure out ways where young women can protect themselves against getting bitten by mosquitoes, whether it's expanded use of bed nets, whether it's providing shelters. This one we're in for a long, hard slog in 2016. And this one we're going to have to think about very carefully.
And just quickly, before I let you go, I know I asked a lot of questions in that last question, but as far as it staying in your system beyond just the initial bite and recovery period, is that something we know of or we know about?
There are arboviruses that can cause a chronic persistent state where the virus is in the person. This does not seem to be the case with Zika. It appears in the bloodstream, and then you mount an immune response to it, and you control the virus, and then it disappears. The big problem comes if you have that short-term virus in your blood. When you're pregnant, then that virus can cross the placenta and infect the baby. So it does not seem to cause long-term illness in adults, as far as we know. But remember, this is all very new. We never anticipated that Zika would cause this type of devastation from what we've known about it in the past.
It's fascinating and also quite terrifying, and it's a story we'll continue to watch. Doctor, great to have you back on the program. Thank you so much.